one of the stars and executive producer of the movie Devotion, which is in theaters starting next week, Wednesday, November 23rd. Glen Powell, good to see you here, sir.
Good to see you, man.
A beautiful movie about two friends taking part in a very important battle in the Korean War. One of them is this is a true story, U.S. Navy fighter, the first African-American aviator in Navy history. What attracted you to this story, Glenn?
My grandfather served in the Korean War, and always just like talking with him about, what happened over there. I realized that there were no movies that I could talk with him about. I feel like sometimes when someone has served, whether it's in World War II, there's plenty of things that are like, oh, this was the battle I fought in, or this is where the stage of combat I was, and there was just nothing to kind of relate to him about that. So it's like I never had a filmic basis to connect with him on that stuff. And so whenever I read this book, I was on a fishing trip with my family in Alaska. So I got the book for the fishing trip, and all of my family was all reading the same book. So we just talked about it over the fishing trip, and ended up, while I was shooting a movie in New York, I ended up driving to Concord, Massachusetts, sitting down with Tom Hudner, who I play in the movie, sitting down with his whole family and asking for their blessing to tell the story. And they gave me it, and had to make a promise to them and the Brown family that I'd tell it right. And here we are 5 years later, and it's finally coming out Thanksgiving.
No kidding.
Yeah.
By the way, Concord, Massachusetts, as if that place doesn't have any
I know,
history.
the most patriotic. I mean, this movie is just reeking with just American everything.
So I assume you're happy with the way that this turned out then.
It's
we talk about pressure. I mean, you had a responsibility here, not just to the families, but you just talked about what it means to your family as well.
Absolutely. Well, that's the other thing, is that not only, you get one shot to tell these guys' stories, so you make that commitment to the family. And I'd never done a movie in that I felt that pressure before. Like, it was a lot of pressure. When you make a promise to do something and do it right, you just hope you can kind of follow through on it. And I'm just so proud of this movie. This movie is just, it's an intimate story of friendship and what it is to be a wingman and what it is to be an ally, but it's just told against the backdrop of this epic war, a war that no one really knows that much about. So it's just, this movie's for everybody, but I think families are really going to respond to it on Thanksgiving.
Well, I mean, you're outstanding at movies for everybody, and I'm not just talking about obviously Top Gun Maverick. Hidden Figures was a beautiful movie, and you want to talk about an important story to tell that also involved race and also involved something of significance in American history. That's another. My kids loved that movie, and it's another one that you could sit down with your family as well.
Well, that's the thing, is that you look at a movie like that, and I realize that movies can really change people's lives.
Right.
When no one knew who Katherine Johnson was. She was part of one of the biggest moments in American history in terms of getting John Glenn into orbit, and no one knew her name. After that movie, she's on buildings. Her name's known around the world, especially around NASA. It kicked off an entire generation of young women, especially African-American women, in STEM. And so Devotion, Jesse L. Brown, no one knows his name. First African-American naval aviator. And after this movie, I really feel like his name should be on everyone's lips. And I think that's a really cool thing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. And I hope, this conversation does a small part in that. Devotion, available again exclusively in theaters next week on Wednesday, November 23rd. It's based on the best-selling book of the same name. Glen Powell is here in studio. And so, do you like doing movies that involve flight and you wear a uniform? I mean, is that something that you?
I just like wearing a flight suit, man. It's really funny because I actually optioned this like 5 years ago, and then Top Gun came about, and then I shot Devotion right after Top Gun. So it's really crazy that I have two naval aviation movies coming out the same year. It looks suspicious, but at the same time, like they're both so different and they complement each other in great ways. But we actually have the same aerial photographer, the aerial cinematographer on Top Gun is on this one. But we're just doing it with totally different planes.
Of course.
Yeah. So, I mean, these planes that we are flying in this movie, the Corsairs and the Bearcats, the amount that we have in the air flying this close to each other, it hasn't happened since the Korean War. So we're pulling planes from all around the world in order to kind of make this visual aerial spectacle really feel real to the audience.
Is it true? Are you an actual pilot as well? You have a pilot license?
Yeah, I got my pilot license.
Okay.
So I've been flying around quite a bit. Not these guys that you see in the movie. These are These planes are very old. I mean, like 70-year-old planes. I prefer to fly something a little newer.
Did you take a crack at flying one of these planes at all, or no?
Yeah, we flew in the because
I know you're shooting in the planes. I'm
Yeah.
just wondering, did you personally take a crack at flying?
not alone.
Okay.
I'm not flying any of these things by myself. There's always a pilot up there.
Sure.
Because these things are also like this helicopter I fly in the movie. So old, they needed a part from the Smithsonian to fly.
Okay, now.
So it's like you're talking about like I wouldn't want to be up in that plane by myself.
But it's not like a library book where you have to borrow it and bring it back when you're going to the Smithsonian. But is that literally what? What?
That's above my pay grade. I have no idea what that part did.
But you're an executive producer.
Good point. Good point. I should know the answer to that. But it really is crazy. When I got on the ground, every pilot that's flying these old warbirds was like, wow, that was the most dangerous thing we did in this movie. And they're like, I was like, what do you mean? And they're like, that is the oldest helicopter in the world, and you were in it, doing some dynamic stuff.
Now, I don't understand, hey, we had to go to the boneyard to get a part or something like that. But you had to go to an actual museum.
A museum.
So somebody goes to Washington, D.C. and say, where's that exhibit? Well, it's on the set of Devotion.
Totally.
So it is?
Yeah, totally.
I like it. Fantastic. Yeah. Glen Powell here on the Rich Eisen Show. All right, I've got a few items from your career we like to play with our celebrity guests called Celebrity True or False.
Great.
So you have to say what's true and what's not true that we learned from the internet. And we have some great, terrific production value to go along with it. Please hit it.
Celebrity True or False.
You can't handle the truth.
There you go. Very good. First up, Glen Powell, true or false? Denzel Washington convinced you to move to L.A. when you were 17. Is that a true story?
True story.
All right, walk me through that.
I did a movie that Denzel directed called The Great Debaters, and we had a great time together, really got along with him. We went down to debate camp, rehearsed with him, and then when I actually shot the movie, my entire role in that movie, I did it in one take. And he's like, that's how it's done. And then we just ended up grabbing dinner right before the premiere, and he's like, you should give this a shot. Like, he's like, I had such a wonderful existence. I love my family. I love Austin, Texas. I had seen so many of my buddies move out to LA and just, they come back with their tail between their legs. Yeah. They have no personality anymore. They hate themselves. Whatever dark thing happened in LA, they were like, I'm not doing that. So I was really hesitant to give it a shot, but Denzel was the one that said, like, hey, you're tough enough and you can do this.
So you're saying you're 17 and was it your first movie and Denzel Washington is directing it?
It wasn't my first movie, but it was definitely early on in my career. And yeah, Denzel was directing it. Pretty wild.
What was that like?
I mean, he's just the coolest. Denzel's exactly who you want him to be. He's just he's the best. But yeah, to get pushed out of the nest by Denzel is like, you kind of have to listen to that.
Yeah, you have to. Yeah. That's not a bad guy to follow.
Yeah.
Next one, he was our guest in the second hour, so this kind of fits. Sylvester Stallone once gave you bodybuilding advice. Is that true?
Yes.
What was that?
When I was shooting, oh yeah, look at that.
Look at that.
Yeah, we were shooting this movie, Expendables 3 in Bulgaria. And I was like, you're trying to be ripped, for Expendables. You don't want to be like the scrawny guy on set.
Yeah.
But I'm like, working out like crazy, and Sly's like, you're wasting your time. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, you're wasting your time,
You have to, if you're going to talk.
But he was literally told me, he goes, focus. He goes, stop doing all the abs and all this stuff. He's like, focus on the forearms and the traps. It's the only thing people will see on camera. The cinema muscles. Yeah, that's.
Do you think we should follow that through?
I mean, fix my workout today.
There you go, man. Just forearms and traps.
Forearms and traps. Again, so you got like career geography advice from Denzel, and then bodybuilding advice from Sly Stallone.
I'm hitting all the stops.
Damn straight you are.
Yeah.
Okay. True or false? You originally auditioned for the role of Rooster, Goose's son, in Top Gun Maverick.
That's true.
That is true.
Yeah.
So what happened?
So I auditioned for Rooster.
Mm-hmm.
Felt great about it, but got a call. I remember it was on July 3rd, 2007 or 2018.
Yes.
That I wasn't going to be Rooster, and I am a very patriotic guy. I was wearing literally an American flag tank top and aviators when I got that call, and immediately was in the fetal position. Worst July 4th ever. But I got to say, I got a call from Cruise a few days later, and he was like, hey, I still want you to do the movie. And I was kind of on the fence. And so he and Jerry Bruckheimer said, come sit down with me and let's like talk it out. So I sat down with Tom in Jerry's office, and we talked about what kind of career I wanted and why I kind of didn't want to do the movie now that I didn't get that role. And Tom was like, "What kind of career do you want?" I go, "You, man, I'm trying to be you." You know,
it's like Tom Brady sitting down. Like, what sort of quarterback do you want to be?
The GOAT. I want to be the greatest of all time. And he goes, "Do you know how I do that?" And I go, "Yeah, you choose great roles." He goes, "No, I choose great movies and I make the roles great." And it kind of just changed my perspective on it. Where even if you're a great player on a great team, right, it's better than being a star player on a losing team. You know, it's better to be, you know, on a championship team. And that was one of the things that Tom really changed my perspective on all that, where even being a small part of the Top Gun ride has changed my life forever. So I'm really glad I listened to him.
Well, part of my pitch would also be your name's Hangman. I mean, like, that's got to be, you got to get into that one, right? I mean, you got to, they had you at your call sign right there.
You know what's
right?
so crazy? We pitched a lot of call signs. I know you're a Jets guy. But we were pitching a lot of different call signs. And one of the call signs that was on that list, trying to figure out, because originally it was Slayer. Slayer. Okay. And in the initial meeting with the Navy, they're like, here's the difference between a Navy call sign and an Air Force call sign. Navy call signs are fun. You know, they're like, you know, Toots and Cookie and blah, blah, blah. Navy call signs are like Laser, Spine Ripper, Slayer. And I was like, well, I can't be like an Air Force call sign in a Navy movie.
Yes.
So I was like, all right, we got to figure out this call sign thing. So we went through a bunch of them, but one of them was Sauce. Yeah. One of those call signs was Sauce. Yeah.
That would be my call sign.
That's your call sign, Sauce.
Yeah. Well, that is your call sign, right, Del Tufo? Because you're a big Bolognese guy. You know, Sauce. So how'd you just land on Hangman? Just
Hangman. I met this aviator, this guy who, you know, when you talk to a naval aviator, there's a story they tell you of how they got their call sign, and then there's the real story. This guy, they call him Hangman. He's like, oh, you know, I don't know why they call me Hangman. Well, I was like, okay, whatever. And he was giving me kind of BS answer. And then I found out from his buddies why they called him Hangman. They found out a story when he was at a middle school dance. And he was worried that he was going to get excited while dancing with a girl.
Oh, goodness.
So he took his shoelace and he tied his thing around his leg, and it got stuck. He cinched himself in, and his buddy had to cut him out. So that's why they called him Hangman. All right, so they called him Noose, and I took that, Noose. And they called him Noose, and I was like, that's too close to Goose.
That's
so
right.
we made it Hangman.
Greatest story ever.
Wow.
Honestly, I don't know how there could be a better story than that.
They're pretty good.
Wow. Fantastic. I got a couple more for you here, Glen Powell. Next one. You are now on Tom Cruise's special list and get a Christmas cake from him every Christmas, and it's delivered by private jet. Is that a true story or not?
I don't know how it gets there. It always gets there.
Okay.
Tom, I know that Tom has a cake operation around the world. The cakes are not getting flown from one location. I know that he has. This is what I've been told.
Yes.
I don't know this for sure. It's not super confirmed.
This is the legend.
Of
Tom Cruise's Christmas cake
operation.
operation.
I asked this because I was like, how? It's like Santa. It's like asking Santa, like, how does he get around the world in one night? It doesn't make sense. So I asked the question, and apparently he finds the best bakeries in different big like London, New York, Chicago, L.A., wherever it is. And he will find the best bakeries, give them the recipe.
The recipe
to the cake.
I think I have
and
it.
He will ship them out from there. I don't know if it's by private jet, but I do know that there's a large cake operation going on probably as we speak.
I'm told it's this is either true or false. A coconut bunned cake with chunks of white chocolate.
That's true.
I want that.
It's a damn good cake.
So he calls these bakeries and says, I don't want your best chocolate coconut bun cake. I want you to make.
No, he's got his thing. He's got I'm telling you, it's the best cake. I actually throw a party at my house whenever the cruise cake. Since we shot the movie, I literally when the cake comes in, my friends are like, hit me up like, hey, is the cruise cake here yet? Is the cruise cake here? So I'll literally have the cruise cake. I'll throw like a party and everybody can have a slice of the cake.
Just one? He just sends one?
Just one cake. Yeah, I don't think Look,
What are you gonna? You can't have your hand
get greedy.
I mean, you can't be a snorer if Tom Cruise is making you. If you're on the cake list,
don't get what you don't ask for.
I just love it. Your friends are like, "Is the cruise cake here yet?"
The cruise cake, yeah, it's legendary.
Fantastic.
I mean, it really is that good.
Sounds of it.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Last one, true or false, Glen Powell? You have a pet capuchin monkey named Charlie.
My Aunt Honey has a capuchin monkey named Charlie.
Not you.
No, I do not personally, have. I did not adopt Charlie myself, my family, but Charlie is part of the family. Charlie's been our family for probably 12 years now, and is like a little brother. Probably the closest relationship I have in my life. Actually.
Okay, so I'm glad that we have these true or false segments to make sure. So there is a capuchin monkey named Charlie.
Yes.
He is part of your family.
Yes.
But he is not yours.
He's not mine. No. Again, there's a ranch in Texas. We all go to the ranch in Texas. It's a very wild place, but Charlie has his own setup, his own bedroom, watches cartoons. He, wears a diaper, can climb in trees. He's a good hang, Charlie.
So, in Charlie's your aunts.
Yeah.
So he's your cousin.
Yes. Charlie's my cousin. Yeah, no, that's a good family tree thing. Yeah, Charlie's my cousin.
Okay. Good thing we
Cousin
checked that
Charlie.
out.
Yeah,
we checked that out. Okay, so if you had a pet, would you name him Arch? Because you're a
big Longhorn fan.
Are you ready for your program?
Archissance?
For the Archissance. Are you ready for your program to be bestowed with a Manning? Are you ready for this?
I am so excited. I got to say, I was at that TCU game. I was on the sidelines. I know Arch was also there. I'm just like looking over him, just trying to instill confidence. Like, hey, man, whenever you get here, we're going to be good.
Did you approach him or you just?
No, I didn't say it. I didn't say anything. I will say that the best thing about having a Manning come to your school is that it really does change. It's already changed our recruiting. It's like when you have all these top receivers and they know a Manning's going to be thrown to them. It's like, it's the best. So yeah, I'm feeling optimistic. I'm an optimistic guy. I've been feeling optimistic about the Longhorns for a long time, but I really do feel like Sark is the right guy, and I feel like with a Manning at the with a Manning at the head, I think we're going to be great.
Someone else is very optimistic is the man behind you, TJ Jefferson, who believes that he will be a billionaire because you bought every Arch Manning card, right? You're already in the Arch Manning card.
Glenn, I've already got Arch Manning cards, high school cards. I'm ready to buy a boat in a few years. Me and Brockman have already sized him up for his Hall of Fame jacket. We have got Blair Buswell already made his bust. Like we're all in on Arch, and so
I hope your stock pays off. That's I would love that. I'm ready for the Longhorns to get back to a really competitive program. It was really fun.
They're already there, don't you think? I mean, they gave Alabama a run for their money.
I was at that game
thought that was a blowout.
That was amazing. Yeah,
right?
I mean that's the thing is when it's really interesting. It's the Longhorn mentality is they come ready for real bouts, right? When, Bama, they have a great underdog mentality.
Yes.
And you saw them turn it on Bama, and it was so fun to watch. It's just, you can't let them get complacent, and I really feel like if they can keep that ferocity, I honestly think, I remember when, it was McCoy and Shipley and that sort of era when we were getting back to the championships, and freaking the Vince Young era. I mean, it was just such a special time to be a Longhorn. So
that Rose Bowl.
Oh my God. Doesn't get any better.
Still one of the greatest college football
Maybe the
games.
best of all time.
I know that. And one of the greatest college football stadium on the planet, the Rose Bowl, man.
Yeah.
What a night that was.
That was incredible.
Oh my goodness gracious. Yeah, Keith Jackson with the call. When Vince runs in the end zone. Yeah. Where were you?
I was actually on UT campus watching that game. I remember that was the night I was in high school at the time. I think I was a sophomore. I remember dancing on top of cars, like in the bed of a truck, looking up at the UT tower, all lit up. It was like everybody was out there going nuts.
Of course.
But I've been a Longhorn fan like my whole life, so it's just as good as it gets.
Of course. This is before Denzel told you to move to Hollywood. And you were on the cruise cake list.
Yeah.
Oh, the cruise cake list. That's a good fantasy team.
Cruise cake list?
Write
it down. Yeah. We when things are said on this show, we write it down for potential fantasy team name use. So.
Actually, cruise cake list is a great fantasy name.
That's right. So the avatar would have to be cruise, not the cake, right? Don't you think?
Yeah, you'd have to have. I'm sure there's some picture
Cruise.
of Cruise eating a cake. I've never seen it, but
Okay.
I'm sure we could find it.
Okay.
Oh yeah, in Outsiders, Cruise ate a cake when he played. I believe he played Steve. So there's a shot of
now
that's a very
creepy.
specific
That's
thing
very
to pull
That is very
out.
creepy.
probably the last time he ate cake.
I'm very impressed with that. I don't know.
That's funny. He gives out cakes. He probably doesn't eat it.
No, that was like my thought is like the guy is like one of the most impressive specimens. Like he just there's no fluff in terms of what he eats, and so I can't imagine he's taking out that cake because it's really damn good. But he lets all the rest of us get fat.
I love it. Devotion is again in theaters next week, Wednesday, November 23rd, and it's based on the best-selling book by the same name. Before we go, I forgot what my name is. I guess we did this when John Hamm was here, right, to promote Top Gun Maverick. What my call name? Hot Shot. There I am.
Hot Shot.
That photograph it belies the nickname right there.
That's
I think.
great.
But I was Hot Shot, right there.
Also a Longhorn, John Hamm.
Oh, is he
Fellow
really?
Longhorn, yeah.
I didn't know
Cowboys
that.
fan. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay. Fantastic.
By the way, guys, I just looked this up.
Yeah.
Just randomly, this headline: Tom Cruise had to eat chocolate cake for 3 days straight while shooting The Outsiders. Quote, I was vomiting.
There you go.
So
that's a good thing.
might be the last time he did eat the cake.
Thank you for coming on, sir.
Appreciate you
I
having
really
me.
appreciate it. Absolutely. Anytime. At Glen Powell on Twitter and Instagram. Again, Devotion is available exclusively in theaters next week on Wednesday, November 23rd. Everybody check that out. Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.